Hello, this is Roy Durantes and I'm at the Salton Sea Beach area. Right behind me you can see the Salton Sea Beach shoreline, and you can see how the sea has receded and gone back and how the playa continues to be exposed, and that has become a concern for many people in the community. So on this TV series we're exploring those concerns. Today we're going to bring to you 5 different things. Number 1, some of the concerns that some people have brought before us and shared with us. Number 2, this petition that the Ecomedia Compass has put together, in which they are asking the community to step forward and raise their voices on what to do about the Red Hill Marina Bay project, which seems to be stalled at this time. Number 3, we're going to bring before you an idea that some people have put together regarding how to restore the Salton Sea. And their idea has to do with bringing water from the ocean and desalinating it. And number 4, good news, there is work going on at the Species Conservation Habitat. And so we're going to take you to that point and show you exactly what is going on. And number 5, great news, the Film Festival 2021. So once again, we're bringing to you the Salton Sea Film Festival, and our deadline this year is in August, and the Salton Sea Film Festival will be on CBS 13 in late September and also online after that. So we're asking you to start getting ready with a 3 to 5 minute short film on the Salton Sea. It can be anything you want. It can be a comedy, it can be a musical, it can be, you know, whatever you want it to be. We ask you to go to our Facebook page, Saving the Salton Sea, or Salton Sea Film Festival, for more information.
Well, the concerns that I have in regards to the Salton Sea is the fact is it's like a bomb that's in our backyard that's about to explode. And so if we do not take care of the Salton Sea, if we don't get this under control, the valley, our home, our pride, our life here is going to be uninhabitable. I want to see the state of California, I want to see the politicians, I want to see these groups, you know, help us clean up the Salton Sea. You know, they've been saying it for years that they were going to help us, and I want them to actually finally help us. You know, don't just tell us about words. I want to see it with actions now. You know what, if the state is not able to, or is not willing to help us, then we'll take this into our own hands. We need to clean the Salton Sea, and we are willing to do anything and everything possible so we don't lose our home, so we don't lose our life here in the valley.
As the seashores recede and the lake dries up, we're going to have a catastrophe, health and safety wise. We're going to have these huge toxic dust storms that will drift and come down to where we live, and that means higher levels of asthma for children or senior citizens or all people. That means possibly lung cancer or any type of cancer. So it is a real health threat. I am frustrated by the lack of interest and action taken by state level and federal level. And I understand that the Imperial Valley doesn't garnish a lot of votes, we don't have a lot of weight, but we're still human beings. We're families, we have children here, and they need to be concerned about human life everywhere. So we're just as important as the crossing from Tijuana to San Diego and their problems there. We're just as important. And I know the supervisors have tried very hard in reaching out to the state and federal levels, and we need to continue to do that. We need a big project, we need a big plan. And yes, it's going to cost lots of money, but it will be worth it. It will save lives, because this is a real threat in our region. And it's not only a regional problem, but it's a state problem. So the Salton Sea needs to immediately, like as of yesterday, be addressed.
Think about the Salton Sea the way we think about our air, our skies today. Back then, we didn't care about what we put into that sea or into that ground. Today is the same thing is happening in the skies, and both have the same effects on asthma, on bloodstreams, on the whole well-being of a community. Number two is water resources. Now that we have this environmental disaster, this toxic dust that is locked in beneath the Salton Sea, the Colorado River is running dry. Everybody's fighting for the Colorado River, but all of a sudden, the Colorado River water is essential to make sure an economic and an environmental catastrophe doesn't happen here in the Imperial County, and that puts a very big political and economic strain within the region. We have to look 20, 30, 40 years in the future when we make environmental decisions like this. We have to think about the decisions that we're making now that are going to affect our oceans, our air, and our land 20, 30, 40 years from now.
I am very concerned about the Salton Sea, just in the fact that when it dries up, it's going to cause more health problems than it already has already. We already seen a significant growth in asthma down here in the valley, especially because of all the fumes that are coming out from it, that no one else is concerned about, or they just haven't been informed on the situation and the matter in hand. I'd just like someone to go out there, a group of people, just to clean it up, try to get it filtered, get some kind of filtration, get water back in it, and then try to start a serious maintenance on that sea, because as soon as it dries up, it's pretty much end game at that point. It's like once it dries up, we're already too late.
There is a petition online that has to do with the Red Hill Bay Marina Habitat Project, which at this time seems to be going nowhere. Can you help us understand what this petition is all about and how people who are interested can get involved?
There's an area at the southern end of the Salton Sea called Red Hill. The Red Hill Bay Wetland Project is a close to 500-acre habitat that takes water from the rivers, blends it with Salton Sea water, and floods it out over the playa. This has been a partnership between a few different agencies, and the most relevant in this are IID, the Imperial Irrigation District, and the Fish and Wildlife Service, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So in November 2015, there was a grand groundbreaking celebration, and it was a big deal. Then it stopped. So we'll fast forward to where we are today. So much of this project actually was built. The Red Hill Bay Restoration Project received $1.2 million in state funding and was offered also federal match funding. The staff of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and a bunch of volunteers got together and constructed nearly all of the required earthwork berms needed to hold water within that 500-acre project. And IID had promised to construct the water infrastructure to move the water around, the pumps, and the power supply needed for the project in 2016. They then obtained $3.3 million from California Wildlife Conservation Board funds to do it, and then later refused to do the work. In June, Imperial County issued a notice of violation to IID and the Fish and Wildlife Service over PM10 dust emissions that is blowing onto the local communities and the farms, and still no habitat, a lot of dust, doesn't help the birds at all. We found that IID had placed pipes out there and had a lot of progress. They ripped up those pipes and they started doing furrowing, which is digging. They look like irrigation trenches, but a lot of trenches to break up the wind. Very little habitat value, and it's a cheap way to do it, but it's also not an EPA approved way to do it. So to keep PM10 dust down, you're required to use the best available control measure, BACM.
BACM.
And this is not considered a Backum control measure. It doesn't eliminate 95, 99, 100% of the dust. Water does. Water is the most effective thing to keep dust down.
So what you guys are asking through this petition is very basic and very easy to understand. You're just saying, sign this petition if you think that IID needs to keep their word and continue the work that is supposed to be done. Am I correct in putting it that way?
So there are three measures that we're asking in the petition. So one is require that any dust measures applied to the Red Hill Bay Restoration Project shall not obstruct or make infeasible the completion of the project as planned. So we don't want any temporary dust control measures to stop the build out of this project that everyone worked on and millions of dollars of our tax money already went into. Two, require that any dust control measures applied to the Red Hill Bay project shall meet already approved EPA standards, best available control measures for PM10 dust. It's a state control measure. There's state and federal control measures. This is something that has been studied with a whole lot of science to understand that the methods that are being used currently are not best available control measures for this dust, so it escapes. Three, deny the proposal by IID to apply surface roughening. So they're asking to do surface roughening. We like that they see that they need to act quickly, but it's because they own the land and they made the water transfer that it is most emissive. So they're acting quickly in, I believe, a very hasty way and not finishing this. So we're denying the proposal to do surface roughening, vegetated or dead, either way, because we feel we are so close to completing this. And we believe that IID has it in them to do it. They have all of this material already purchased. Fish and Wildlife Service is ready to do the rest of the work. The rivers have the water. And there is over $3 million of funds that would go towards the maintenance and build of this project, assuming IID grants the access with this land lease. So they could either grant a 25-year land lease, minimum more makes sense, to the Fish and Wildlife Service, or just get rid of it and sell it to them and keep the part where they can manage geothermal power. And that makes sense. They're responsible for any dust coming off their land. Maybe they should just get rid of it, not have to worry about it, and not get paid for doing the wrong thing.
The hearings over the Red Hill Restoration Project are ongoing. Anyone interested can watch the hearings by going to the Imperial County Air Pollution Control District's website. Tomsefton is a Brawley resident who's planning on launching a business which will remove and purify salt for sale from the Salton Sea. His venture is driven by his concern for the area.
We owe it to our future generations to restore this place and make this not a forgotten place in the desert, but a thriving place for people to live, a thriving place for the animals and the birds that are part of our lives to live, and a safe place without a public health problem from clouds of dust. This is important for everyone, and it can be solved. We just have to bring the level back up to where it was with additional water inflow, which could come from the Pacific Ocean and the mountains behind us, or it could come from the south, from the Sea of Cortez. And we need to manage the salinity of this body of water. It's already double ocean salinity because water comes in. It's what's called a terminal lake. So water and salt and anything else that's in that water, other contaminants, they come into the sea, the water evaporates out the top, and it leaves everything else behind. What we need to do is bring water in that's cleaner, and we need to remove the excess salt and remove the contaminants. That's possible to do. I've actually been demonstrating how to do that with technology since 2005 on the southeast shore of the Salton Sea. We have proven that we can take Salton Sea water, use the renewable energy source, the sunshine that shines almost every day, or the geothermal resource, which is plentiful on the south shore of the Salton Sea, we can use the heat in that to purify this water into pure water. We've shown we can do it, we've demonstrated it, we've reported it, we've put it in professional conferences, the data is out there. We know how to clean up this sea, and we know how to bring the water in. All we need is a canal from Mexico to the south end of the Salton Sea, 120 miles, downhill net flow, and we could do it. The hump that you got to go over from the Sea of Cortez, if you come through the Laguna Salada route, it's only 300 feet. It's actually less than that if you went through the Mexicali Valley. But it's not complicated engineering. We've solved much more complicated problems than this. The engineering is not the problem. The challenge is political will. The challenge is political will to actually bring this back to a thriving place for animals, for people, for the economy. This can and should be a thriving place. We know how to do it.
A strong voice for the Salton Sea and its surrounding area, IIED Director Alex Cardenas gave us a tour of the ongoing work at the Species Conservation Habitat Project.
Actually, this is very exciting. We are located in Imperial County. We're on the south side of the Salton Sea and east of the New River. And this is exciting because this is an anchor point. This is the Species Conservation Habitat Project. It is a 3,800 acre project with a price tag of $220 million. And again, it is an anchor to the Salton Sea Management Program that's scheduled to be out here that consists of 30,000 acres. So what you're seeing out here is activity. Activity with a purpose to create a network of ponds and wetlands to provide habitat to both fish and birds. So there's a tremendous amount of activity here on the south side of the Salton Sea. It is happening, and it's designed to create habitat and, most importantly, to mitigate the risk of this playa being exposed and causing health hazards to our community. So what you're seeing here is construction, the movement of earth materials to create these wetlands that are sustainable, and also creation of ponds that is going to create habitat for birds and fish. But also, most importantly, this type of activity and construction is also designed to mitigate some of the emissions of this toxic shoreline. This particular work, again, involves about 3,800 acres of land. A lot of design and permitting was involved, and that was a good portion of the initial activities. But now you're seeing tractor work out here, you're seeing earth movement, and this project is well on its way. Its completion date is scheduled for 2023 is when we anticipate, and this is absolutely going to be a beautiful area and a gem on the south side of the Salton Sea. On our way out to Species Conservation Habitat Project, we were able to witness some of the wetlands and some of the ponds that was under the stewardship of U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And it is a picture of what we can expect along the sea. So the exciting part is that we have some success already along the sea with our partners, U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And what we're going to do is really expand the acreage when it comes to those types of habitat projects. So we are going to be successful here on the south end, and this project is scheduled to be completed by 2023. My passion requires engagement. So I am asking that the community reach out to me. You can reach out to me via Facebook, my cell phone, or even email, but I need your help. I need your engagement. So I'm asking you guys to reach out to me, and let's go ahead and build a committee of folks that want to see a change in our community. This cannot be done by a single person. That has to be done with a variety of stakeholders. So again, what I'm asking is that you reach out to me and let's have a conversation.
The new river has a major impact on the Salton Sea, and there is some work about to start at the river. County Supervisor Jesus Escobar says it's a good start, but not enough.
Well, the New River has been a problem for the city of Calexico, for Imperial County, for the United States for well over 40 years. It was documented back in the 60s, it was an issue, the 70s, in the 80s, there was a segment on 60 Minutes where it was the most polluted river in the United States. And here we are in 2021 and we still have the same issue. So has there been progress made in the short term? Absolutely. The state of California stepped up to the plate. This is an international issue, but the state of California stepped up to the plate. There is $28 million in funding that includes the encasement of the new river that's going to take it out of the city of Calexico. There is a pump back system that will go to the port of entry and pump back treated water through the actual river channel until it meets the encasement, the ending of the encasement, as well as a trash screen at the port of entry. So there has been and there will be improvements within the next 12 to 24 months, visible improvements to the new river. But again, that is just the tip of the iceberg. This will assist the city of Calexico and Imperial County in getting some of the problem out of sight, out of mind, but it's not treating the water. And that's what we need federal funding for. That's where we need federal assistance to be able to have treated water here in the U.S. with this new river and this issue. Again, we need federal funding, we need federal support. Well, at the end of the day, the Salton Sea, the shoreline is receding. So from one perspective, we need water to come into the Salton Sea because the shoreline is receding. That's number one. Number two, the new river as is obviously brings a significant amount of pollution to the new river. So not only do you have a receding shoreline, you also have the pollution factor involved with agricultural runoff and obviously raw sewage coming from the city of Mexicali. So you combine that and that's a perfect storm, unfortunately, which is adversely affecting our Salton Sea. And instead of making matters better, they're making matters worse. The state of California has stepped up to the plate and is assisting us with $28 million in funding for the encasement, for the pump back system, and for a trash screen that'll basically, again, remove some of the problem from the city of Calexico a few miles west. But again, that is not treating the problem. We're still getting polluted water running through the new river into the United States. And that's where we need federal funding. There is continued dialogue. There is a willingness of support. But at the end of the day, we've had this problem for decades, not years. And at the end of the day, this has not been fixed. And that's what we are requesting. That is what we are demanding from our federal government to fix this problem.
Daniel Manoyu is a music composer and filmmaker from Long Beach. He submitted a short film to the Salton Sea Film Festival last year. He says he wants to help bring more attention to the area through his music and film work.
So I found about the Salton Sea fairly recently, and I was looking for a place in the desert because I love the desert weather, and I discovered this amazing body of water here. And then I did find out about, aside from the beauty of it, it did have a lot of problems. So that's something that I would like to get involved in and try to improve it. I think it can be restored to its former glory and it can be a paradise again. Our film, The Desert Flower, was my attempt of having a family project because I had my daughters, my three daughters were the actresses, and myself and my wife directed it, and I wrote the music for it and did the special effects and editing. So it was a great family project, and one of the things that we're aiming with it is to make it look beautiful, make the Salton Sea beautiful, make it like a fantasy Spielberg story about this little girl who's wandering through the desert and meets a science fiction alien friend, because that's something that you don't see when you look at documentaries and films about the Salton Sea. A lot of them focus on the negative part, but we wanted to make it seem like a wonderful and beautiful place as well. We are planning in having follow-up films, and we are planning in maybe perhaps even having a documentary about the Salton Sea, which focuses more on its history, and even its history before it was what we now think of the Salton Sea. Maybe it's ancient history, when it was a giant ocean here that still existed. So that's something that we're exploring, and I would love to have a sequel that also includes my girls, and that they can see this as a regular thing that they can be part of. So we actually just used an iPhone to do the video, and I used the DaVinci to edit the film. I'm a video game developer as well, so I use Unreal Engine. So I created a 3D model. I actually used the 3D model that was pre-made. I textured it, so I painted it into an alien creature. I did some animation on a green screen, and then I included that in the film as well. So that was a good learning experience for me to do special effects. It's the first time that I tried to do that in a film form, and a good way for me to kind of blend my skills for music, sound production, and now video game development into one project that includes them all. So just spread the word. The Salton Sea is a beautiful place. It has a lot of potential. It's unique in the country. It's one of the most unique places in the world too. There are very few areas of this size that are quite like it. And one thing I like to say, it's one of the few parts in California where you can find the waterfront and mountain view property for relatively inexpensive, and it's not very well known. There's a lot of potential here. And just to spread the word and get people to know this, and like that, the state will take action.
This the place where I'm from. These are the things that I see. This the place where I live. So this place is me. It's in my blood. Running through.
Make a film. Save the Salton Sea. We invite you to enter this year's Salton Sea Film and Arts Festival with a short 3 to 5 minute film on the Salton Sea. There will be $2,500 in combined cash prizes in the 5 categories: adult, high school, junior high school, under 12 years of age, and music video. For more information, please go to our Facebook page, Saving the Salton Sea or Salton Sea Film Festival. The deadline is August 15, and the festival will be on September 25th.
This where I'm from. These are the things that I see.
Thank you for spending time today with us as we share with you some of the ideas and concerns about the Salton Sea. Please join us online as well at Saving the Salton Sea on Facebook as we share with you updates and other information. This is Roy Durantes for Saving the Salton Sea. Please join us next month as we bring you more updates on what's going on at the Salton Sea. And for weekly updates, please visit our Facebook page, Saving the Salton Sea.